Thank you very much, and welcome back to this session, this panel discussion. We are now going to move to the second panel discussion, very interesting panel that will be moderated by Miss Lydia Pwadura from the PwC Ghana. She will bring, during this discussion, together Coca-Cola, franchise, KFC franchisee in Ghana, and PYXERA Global, to discuss how to develop the US-Ghana partnership in manufacturing, service, and franchising. The panel will specifically explore how Ghana can be positioned to be a manufacturing hub, and discuss which service and manufacturing activity are promising for Ghana to reach other part of Africa. The panel will also explore the enabling environment for investing in franchising in Ghana, and which sector presents the most opportunity.
Let's send a note to them.
The US financing vehicle for manufacturing and manufacturing service and franchising will also be explored as well. Just to say a few words about Ms. Lydia, it's important for you to know that as a moderator, she has a very deep background as the tax partner at PwC Ghana, where she leads the people and organization practice and company secretary service practice. Ms. Lydia has over 16 years of professional experience in the provision of tax compliance and advisory service across various industries, including the consumer industry, industrial product and service industry. She is a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants UK and hold membership status with the Chartered Institute of Taxation Ghana and Institute of Chartered Accountants. She is a graduate of the University of South Africa, where she holds a master in philosophy in mining taxation. So I think we're definitely happy to have her moderating this important session. Ms. Lydia, I would like to hand over the floor to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Yao. Good afternoon to you all, and welcome to this afternoon's panel discussion on developing US-Ghana partnerships in manufacturing and franchising with a spin on SMEs. Just a bit about myself, especially on my academic qualification. I actually hold an MPhil in taxation with the University of Equatorial, South Africa. So thanks once again for joining us. Joining us for this afternoon discussion, and I will mention or introduce my panelists in no particular order. I have with me Mr. Philip Boadu Assah, franchise senior manager, Equatorial Africa Territories, Coca-Cola. Mr. Assah works with bottling partners across the countries of the sub-region to unlock non-alcoholic, ready-to-drink growth opportunities, which involves creating and fulfilling demand across the Coca-Cola company's portfolio of products. Mr. Assah, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to this discussion.
Thank you very much for having me as well.
Okay, thank you. So our second panelist is Mr. Ashok Mohinani, Executive Director, Mohinani Group and KFC franchisee in Ghana. The Mohinani Group Ghana is a second-generation family business with over 50 years of experience in multi-sector operations in various industries across the African continent. Mr. Mohinani, thank you and welcome to this afternoon's discussion.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants in this US Ghana Business Forum. And thank you, Lydia, for the introduction.
Thank you. And finally, I'd like to introduce Mr. Yash Ranga, Director of Strategy and Innovation at PYXERA Global. Mr. Ranga provides strategic vision as Director of Strategy and Innovation at PYXERA Global. He is responsible for expanding the portfolio and impact by creating a global ecosystem through engaging multiple diverse stakeholders, and by creating an effective partnership platform that maximizes impact at scale. Mr. Ranga, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lydia, for having us here. Namaste from India. Divine in me welcomes the divine in you all. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Our esteemed guest can join us in the discussion by posting your questions in the Q&A room or share with us your comments in the chat room. Please remember to indicate the panelists you would like to respond to your questions. So getting right into this, my question will go to Mr. Assah. The manufacturing sector is said to be the fourth largest sector of Ghana's economy and the main driver of industrial growth. This is based on 2019 data. Now, early this year, Africa commenced trading under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement with the aim of boosting intra-Africa trade aimed at unlocking the potential of the continent's 3.4 trillion GDP. Now, you will agree with me that this is a huge market we're looking at. My question to you, Mr. Assah, is, in the context of AFTA, how can Ghana be positioned to be a manufacturing hub?
Thank you very much. For Ghana to be positioned as a manufacturing hub, I'd like to look at this from two perspectives, government being an enabler and also industry being very deliberate about this opportunity that has been presented to us by AFTA. So government being an enabler, I believe that we already, as Ghana, as you know, have demonstrated that from a political standpoint, we've been able to have successive elections, been able to also change governments, and this place has been positioned as a very peaceful country that really ticks the box for us as far as Ghana being set up as a manufacturing hub is concerned. Even for the Coca-Cola company, we look at this very critically, and that is the reason why recently, up until last year, we invested about $25 million to set up a dairy manufacturing plant here to be able to serve the market and other markets across Africa. So clearly, peace is a good criteria we look at so that our investments are really protected. Additionally, as well, the macroeconomics need to be very, very strong. I think we are trending in the right direction once we look at the macroeconomics. Our currency has been very stable this year, but we need to take it long term to ensure that we'll continue to have currency stability so that we'll be able to unlock potentials that exist in the other markets once we are setting up as a manufacturer. Remember, our neighboring countries like Cote d'Ivoire and others have very, very stable currencies, and that helps them really plan. So if we're going to be very competitive as a manufacturing hub, we need to make sure that these numbers make sense, they work well for us, and we're able to deliver on that as well. Inflation, we also trending towards single digit. We've been quite consistent with that. That also helps us to be able to set ourselves up as a manufacturing hub. I'd also want to talk about the fact that the legal framework, the legal and the regulatory framework, that's really counts to support us being a manufacturing hub in the country for Africa. Because if investors are going to take Ghana seriously, they want to believe that the legal framework works, the regulatory framework works, so that when there are disputes, they're able to resolve them in a timely manner and in a very transparent manner as well. These are the key things I want to say, that from the government being an enabler, as setting Ghana up as a manufacturing hub, then we would have to consider. But industry also needs to be very deliberate. Industry needs to be able to highlight the white spaces that exist and take advantage of these white spaces. Engage with government so that government is aware of these white spaces that exist for us to take up opportunities that exist across Africa, get the needed support for government to support industry, deliver on this mandate to ensure that we are in a good position to compete against our peers in other countries as well. For us at Coca-Cola, I would say that we want to make our beverages affordable across the continent. And for that matter, we would be open to, of course, tap into the opportunities that exist across, even if Ghana is set up as a manufacturing hub to expand into the market. Lastly, I want to talk about the fact that the logistics and infrastructure. I think that point has been made clearly over here, that we need to make sure that we are unlocking that opportunity as well, so that the infrastructure base is really strong. Our ports are very open, easy to access, and also easy to export out. Airlines and also the road network is working across the region. These, I believe, are the key points or the key areas we need to be looking at if we want to really set up Ghana as a manufacturing hub in the context of that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Assah. Mr. Mohinani, the franchise industry in Ghana is relatively young, but is deemed to have the potential to grow in the coming years. In fact, Ghana is considered a fertile ground for the franchising industry. My question to you is, what is the enabling environment for investing in franchising in Ghana?
Hear me okay?
Yes.
Well, so a couple of things have been said before in the various discussions, including the speech by GIPC CEO, Yofi Grant. Philip touched on a few things on the overall environment, whether it's relating to franchisee or other sectors. So I'd like to highlight that. I mean, the key one is the ease of doing business in Ghana. Ghana's economic complexity level is low, and that has a comparative advantage over other African countries due to a number of aspects. The obvious one is political stability, a progressive social environment, a balanced macroeconomic environment with focus on private sector development by the current government. Plans like the 1D1F initiative is definitely an enabler. We've got a well-developed banking infrastructure, as well as expedient growth in digital payment platforms, mobile money being the most penetrated platform. We've also got a growing young population. 57% of the population is below the age of 25. So one needs to adapt to their tastes and their demands. There's a continuous development in infrastructure to help enable business. Our airport serves as the regional hub, probably one of the best airports in the region. Logistics and development of ports continuously serves the region. There's work and discussion on revamping the railway sector, which will help with the cost of transport to all the inland towns and cities. So these are sort of the enabling environment, not necessarily only for franchising, but also for development and investments into the country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohinani. Mr. Ranja, your organization works with SMEs, and we know that the SME industry in Ghana is quite large and dispersed. Briefly tell us about what you do in the SME space and how your work is linked to the manufacturing sector.
Thank you, Lydia. Basically, PYXERA Global has started with the big vision of supporting economies, supporting countries transition to market-based economy. And in any economy which is in the transition phase, I think SME plays a very integral role. And when we talk about Ghana specifically, 90% of the registered businesses are either SMEs or MSMEs. So which talks about the potential of this sector into the growth, economic growth of Ghanaian economy, as well as the social growth, because it's the largest sector that employs the largest number of people. And PYXERA Global comes with a very unique perspective to Ghana and West Africa, that while this transition is happening, while this economic maturity is coming in within the economy, we help them with providing with external skills, the knowledge transfers. So we do a lot of training program, capacity building program for SMEs, the entrepreneurs, and especially focus on women and also on the youth who are the leaders of this sector because of their key role in designing the future large corporations and especially the new sectors. So with this, we work also with a lot of other corporate partners. So we bring in the corporate skills as skill-based volunteering in our training development program, and we have a very specific very specific offering wherein we bring in these experts from all these corporations from all over the world and help them work with the local SMEs leaders so that they can develop their capacity, they can be more agile, they can develop their financial planning ability, they can help their develop their technology platforms. So this combining our experience for almost 13 years in the country now, I think we have gained a very critical insight, which is after agriculture, weaving is the second largest form of livelihood for the people. And manufacturing has a huge scope with livelihoods and in weaving sector. So we have done a study in Ghana and we realized that manufacturing in textiles and garment making can completely strategically change the direction of economic growth as well as the social growth of the communities, because most of the people are still living in villages. And in villages, if we can create those enabling environment that provides support to manufacturing facilities, small manufacturing facilities that can be integrated and that adds to the economic export potential of the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Coming back to you, Mr. Mohinani, which sectors in Ghana would you say present the most opportunities and investment potential for franchising? And please feel free to touch on other sectors as you may please. Thank you.
Okay, so well, Ghana is still a growing economy, hence the opportunities are plenty. Sectors for potential opportunities are numerous. The landscape is fragmented with many unstructured players. There are local homegrown players. There's some mom and pop style enterprises, but there's also some far more structured and professional enterprises in the terrain. However, international franchisees coming in with a franchisee raises the bar on the process, the quality and offering, which in turn forces existing players to follow. Our 10-year journey with KFC has by no means been a walk in the park. But what it's done is raise the bar on food safety, customer experience, which the existing players inevitably were compelled to follow to stay in business. I'm sure that is applicable for all the sectors. The sectors which look attractive, in my opinion, a lot was said by Yofi Grant in the sectors government were looking to promote in his comments earlier on. But the sectors I see opportunities are in the hospitality and tourism sector. I see a lot of opportunities there. I think retail is big. There are few international brands, so there's room for more, specifically in the clothing, garment and apparel segment. Limited in the luxury goods, there's also potential for that. so that people don't have to travel overseas, especially with the restrictions we've had with COVID. It gives them the opportunity to shop locally. Supermarket chains, consumer electronic brands, big box retail from overseas. There's room for that. There's limited franchisees available in those segments. Building materials and DIY space in that. Overseas is taken for granted. Here, there's room for playing there. It's still not as mature as what it is internationally. Furniture is predominantly local. Furniture retail, furniture generally is predominantly local business people. Room for raising the bar with international franchising. The medical space is big. And there's potential in that. E-learning and education platforms, I believe, also has a lot of potential for tie-ups from overseas to raise the bar in there. Shared workspace is becoming common. There is some international affiliations, but also probably scope for more as COVID has made our work style and the way we work change. So there's room for that. And finally, foods. There are a number of international brands here, including American brands. But I believe as we keep growing, there's room for more international brands to come into the market. So that's my sort of view on the landscape. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see a wide range of things we can, as investors, get into based on what you have said, and that's really fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Ranga. Of course, after it's with us, and you have concentration or focus in the SME sector. I was just wondering, aside the weaving sector, you mentioned, what would you say are the sectors in Ghana that present the most opportunities when it comes to the SME side of things?
I think like after the weaving, agribusiness would be a very important role that can play for the positioning of Ghana because of the very nicely laid geography of the country basically, and the environment in the country. And I think after agriculture, there would be a lot of things in starting from ICT and in real estate sector that SMEs can start in, mostly from restaurants, as Ashok talked about, that there is a huge scope about these kind of new development because the population is fastly growing. The percentage of the mid-sized families and the percentage of medium income people is increasing. So I think restaurant businesses are also very prime in coming times in Ghana for SMEs. Yeah.
Okay. So when you say weaving, is it weaving in general, or will there be something specific like maybe weaving bags or maybe clothes or something? What exactly do you mean when you say weaving?
So looking at the history of textiles and culture of Ghana, weaving, especially for textile, has a very important role in the culture, in the practices, the way communities have evolved. So I think textile market is a very prominent scope. After textile comes the garment manufacturing because it is an integrated thing. And we have looked about the recent trend in the country about the role of the second-hand clothes market. So totally, when we look at it, there are 600,000 textile weavers within the country, and there are almost 2,500 people involved in the garment manufacturing sector, and 2.5 million people are involved in the second-hand clothing industry. So I see this sector as a whole. and the way the countries are transitioning from the fossil fuel based of industries to more circular industries, then I think this plays a very critical role. And in this moment when the economy is, as Ashok said, is a economy which is changing, which is evolving, given the other macroeconomic factors that supports, and along with the other policies that supports this evolution, I think a ecosystem of an ecosystem that enables the SMEs in different capacities, right from their skills, their exposures, their understanding of innovation, and coupling it with right sort of investment will definitely make a change, will be lasting and will be more sustainable for the Ghanaian economy.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Assah, so we have the manufacturing sector, we have franchising, we even have a service sector, and then we have SMEs that can be found across. And sometimes I feel, or one would tend to believe, that we sometimes operate in silos, probably instead of really coming together to make things work holistically. In your view, what needs to be done to improve or to enhance more partnerships within these sectors?
I think what I believe needs to be done is for industry to be able to show higher corporate governance standards exhibited, because to be able to attract such useful partnerships in Ghana, partners are looking for partners that would be accountable, who would show clear process and show also a good drive to be more sustainable in their endeavors. And sometimes these are some of the gaps we see in the market, where most of the companies are solely driven by one individual, and sometimes also lose that long-term effect. So when partners are being sought, we look out for partners that have a very long-term ambition, not just looking at the today or the tomorrow, but that can look further beyond 5 to 10 years to plan and take advantage of opportunities that exist. If we're going to be able to take advantage of PYXERA, we need to look in a broader scope, even from perspective. This one D, one F agenda, we need to start looking at it from 1D, 1F times 55 countries to be able to open our people up to the partnership opportunities that exist. In some, I would say, let's have stronger corporate governance standards with our organizations, also having a long-term view and government support and private partnership as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mohinani, do you have any additional comments on this?
I think these sectors are more or less mutually exclusive, but still part of the overall ecosystem. Areas where I wouldn't say cooperation, but I think where continuous investment can be looked at as far as the government goes is power sector. I think electricity costs compared to certain places are high, and I think that there's room for that. I think land tenure, there's reform going on. However, if you're a new investor coming in and you don't do your due diligence properly, there are still issues there, and there's room for making it far more smooth for investors. It's okay for the retail space because you are more likely to get into a structured mall or retail space. But if you are getting into clean build and building from scratch, you may have issues. So I think there's room for that. We talked about infrastructure being an enabler. I think with infrastructure, there's always room for more and more investment and more improvement to it's constant. So I think those are the areas I feel there's still work to be done in.
All right, thank you very much for that. Back to you, Mr. Ranga. When you're talking about the SME sector, I mean, you mentioned quite a number of opportunities and areas to look at in terms of where there is opportunity and potential. Do you think there are any challenges in this sector? And if yes, what do you think can be done to address those challenges?
Absolutely. I think like this sector is you know a sector that is on a journey, and in this journey it requires a lot of different skill sets. So first thing which is required is how do we support them with the required skills to run these businesses, and post skills comes the whole idea of the governance and the global exposure in the different markets. Like if you talk about the craft industry, the textile industry in Ghana, the biggest challenge comes from the raw materials, because most of the raw materials are imported. And irony is that 90% of the African cotton is exported out, and then it is imported in some other form back to the country. So I think this whole value chain mapping is required in order for these SMEs to evolve at a right pace. And along with this, a lot of innovation is missing, because still we are trying to use the practices that has worked in some other places or in some other countries, but we have not looked in the innate potential of the country, innate potential of the communities. We have to harness that potential and that unlock that unseized potential from within the communities that will translate into these SMEs businesses going forward. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is a question I'll ask all my panelists. What are the US financing vehicles for investments in these sectors we're talking about? I mean, manufacturing, franchising services, SME sector. What are these vehicles we are looking at really? And any of you can start.
So Lydia, from my end, I know IFC is quite active. That's part of the World Bank in looking at projects and investments in various sectors. You've also got a number of international banks, not necessarily US, but have a large presence in the US, although there are some liaison office for US banks here. The other area is private equity, whether it's venture capital or angel funding. There is an appetite, and a lot of transactions have been done at various levels in Ghana. And so those are the vehicles which are some of the vehicles which are available for funding for businesses into Ghana.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohinani. Any other views from Mr. Assah or Mr. Ranga?
I think Ashok may have said quite a lot of them, but I think one other one I want to also add is also equity investment from the companies themselves. So driving that, let's say, point to be able to directly invest in businesses.
Mr. Assah, you are breaking up a bit.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, clear now.
Okay, yes. So I was mentioning the fact that equity investments as well. So where companies directly invest into manufacturing entities, franchise operations directly, just as we as a Coca-Cola have done by directly or going into partnerships with our bottling partners on the ground to be able to unlock opportunities that exist in the market as well. Some other investments also sometimes would come through marketing support, where the partner, the franchise partner is already established in the market, and then the brand goes into support with some additional these are a few of the investing drivers I can tell you in action.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Ranka, do you have any additional comments?
Absolutely. I think like for this new market, there are very new innovative financing models that have been tried and tested. One is definitely having special funds for specific industries. Like there are very new upcoming new funds specifically for circular businesses, for sustainable fashion, for fintech, for agri businesses. So these are new ways wherein a lot of new investment is coming in. And along with that, right now, the investor community is more focused on the return on investment plus the impact on investment. So this new style of investing through impact bonds in the developing economies is a new tool which has been proven very successful in some of the countries. And I think there have been some interest by some US agencies and some other international donors to create that impact bond funnel for the country. And I think another important area for the SME sector comes from the EXIM banks, the export-import banks, because they play a very critical role. And especially in context with the US, the relationship between the US EXIM and the Ghanaian EXIM Bank has a very specific framework which allows these SMEs to grow in specific sorts of financing ways. And I like to take an example here of one of the very interesting groundbreaking project that PYXERA Global has initiated in Ghana, which is known as Thai Artisans. So this is a social innovation approach in which we are trying to transform these weavers into innovators, into entrepreneurs, and then create this whole opportunity for having a huge innovation in manufacturing sector in Ghana that involves around the circularity. So the investments from other philanthropic bodies is also very critical for these kind of initial, I would say, initial testing of these kind of futuristic models that will also play a very critical role along with this mature funding, which we have for other industries.
All right, thank you so much. All too soon, we'll have to bring this discussion to a close. But before I do that, Mr. Assah, in 30 seconds, do you have any final thoughts?
Thank you very much for this, the opportunity as well. I just want to say that after indeed presents a good opportunity for Ghana to take its place on the African continent, we as Coca-Cola, with the aim of making our drinks and our beverages very affordable, is really open to support this initiative. Thank you for your team for putting this together as well. We are open to collaboration and also open to see this come into fruition with engaged stakeholders, government, industries to make sure that this is very successful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mohinani, do you have any closing remarks? 30 seconds, please.
Yes, for me, I think it's been an exciting discussion. The participants, you would have had a broad view of what's happening. I think it's an exciting time and there's plenty of exciting spaces for investors to come in, and look forward to seeing you in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, to Mr. Ranga, do you have any final comments?
Like with all of this discussion that we've been part of it since morning, I'll say the enduring prosperity for Ghana will not come if we try to fix the poverty on the poverty areas. It'll come if we try to invest in the innate potential and the innovation that will create the new market within our country. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have picked a thing or two from this discussion. From what I hear, there's so much potential in this country, and it's for us collectively with government, American Chamber of Commerce, Ghana, all of us to come together, and I'm sure we'll be able to break into this $3.4 billion GDP that Africa presents us. with this, I'd like to thank our panelists for a fantastic job done. To Mr. Ashok Mohinani, thank you so much for joining us. To Mr. Philip Boadu, thanks again for joining us. And finally, to Mr. Yash Ranga, many thanks for joining us. And to you, our listeners, thank you so much for staying on. We know we've overrun, but thank you so much for staying with us. And finally, to the American Chamber of Commerce Ghana, thank you so much for making this possible. And that's it for me. And I hand over to Yao now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lydia, for this interesting and vibrant conversation that you had. I would like to really thank all of you, all the viewers, all the participants. We have really come to the end of this 2 days forum with over 500 participants tuning in over the past 48 hours. There is clearly a lot of interest in expanding the two-way trade between the US and Ghana and utilizing Ghana really as a home for broader African investments. The forum has further demonstrated and strengthened, in my view, the business relationship between Ghana and the US, and it has exposed participants to the opportunities within the world new trade bloc, the AFCFTA bloc. There is clearly, in my view, again, a big will to harness this relationship between the US and Ghana when it comes to the commercial and investment aspect. And now, I think what is important is the need to show you the way, how we have the will, how now do we show the way. And I think the US Chamber of Commerce and its affiliate, the AmCham Ghana, in collaboration with the US Embassy in Ghana and the Ghana Embassy in the US, to be poised to be a secure conduit to show that way, the way how to really take advantage of this relationship. On this note, I would like to express our gratitude to our sponsor and partner for this forum. We have the gold sponsor, Cummins, Cosmos Energy, Coca-Cola, the silver sponsor, Masco Food, KFC, Kemati and Partners, corporate attorneys that were so gracious to support this event. Our partners for this event, we have Ghana Embassy in Ghana, in Washington, the U.S. Commercial Service in Ghana, Ghana Investment Promotion Center, and Ghana Houston Chamber of Commerce. I would like to extend our sincere thanks to our distinguished speakers that we had over the past 2 days, and the panelists, of course. We heard interesting conversation, the digital economy, digitization and e-commerce. We also spoke about the energy, the extractive industry infrastructure, and now we spoke about the franchisee and all the other opportunities that we have in the Ghana markets. So I would also like to take this opportunity to give a special thanks to Ms. Ella Walsh, our coordinator of the US Africa Business Center, and to Mr. Simon Maggi and his team from AmCham Ghana for the hard work in putting together this event over the past 2 days. The Chamber has really taken note on the recommendation also to alternate this forum, right, from Ghana to the United States. We hope next year, when everything goes back to normal, if we get to that normalcy, to do this in person as we have done in the past. And hopefully we'll be able to do it here in the US. We are committed to continue really presenting Ghana as a favorable investment destination for US investors, including the African diaspora. We hope to see you next year with another thought-provoking and deal-making event. Thank you all and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye and see you soon.